What followed was one of the darkest chapters in American history, the forced removal of these tribes and the immense suffering that came with it. The role of Andrew Jackson and the Indian Removal Act? In 1828, Andrew Jackson was elected President of the United States. He believed that Native Americans were standing in the way of the country's growth. Jackson championed the Indian Removal Act, a law passed in 1830 that gave the government the power to negotiate treaties to relocate Native tribes to lands west of the Mississippi River. While the law made it seem like the relocations would be voluntary, they were anything but. Many treaties were signed under pressure or false promises. The government assured the tribes that they would receive new lands and resources, but these promises were rarely kept. The Cherokee Nation fought back by taking their case to the Supreme Court. In 1832, the court ruled in their favor, declaring that they had the right to their land. However, Andrew Jackson ignored the ruling, famously stating that the court could not enforce it. The Forced March. A story of survival? By the late 1830s, the government began forcibly removing tribes that refused to leave. Soldiers rounded up families, often with no warning, forcing them out of their homes. They were placed in holding camps where conditions were terrible, with little food, shelter, or medical care. From there, the long march west began. The journey was brutal. Native people walked hundreds of miles on foot, enduring freezing winters and sweltering summers. They had few supplies, and starvation and disease were rampant. Entire families were wiped out by illnesses like dysentery, smallpox, and pneumonia. For every step they took, they left behind loved ones who could not survive. Among the tribes, the Cherokee suffered greatly, losing more than 4,000 people during their forced removal. This immense suffering led to the name. Trail of Tears, a reflection of the heartbreak and loss experienced along the way. What was the impact on African Americans? The Trail of Tears also intersected with African American history. Some members of the 5 tribes owned enslaved Africans, and these individuals were forced to march alongside their native owners. The Seminole tribe in Florida had long provided sanctuary to runaway enslaved Africans, and they became allies in resistance against the U.S. government. This shared history created a complex relationship between African Americans and Native Americans. Many African Americans today can trace their ancestry to these tribes, but the legacy is bittersweet, shaped by both solidarity and enslavement. The Trail of Tears left a lasting scar on the Native American communities. The tribes lost not only their land but also parts of their culture, traditions, and identities. Once they reached Indian territory, they had to rebuild their lives from scratch, often in unfamiliar and hostile environments. The effects of the Trail of Tears is still felt today. Native communities continue to fight for their rights, lands, and recognition in the face of ongoing challenges. The story is a reminder of the resilience of those who endured this tragedy and the cost of greed and expansion. The Trail of Tears is not just a story about the past.
That's a wrap, History Seekers. Catch the full story on YouTube. Thanks for watching. Peace and love.